Okay, today's video is going to be about solving equations. This is a mastery assessment. So, let's go ahead and get into the only example that we will have today. And as you can see, it's asking us to solve each equation, and then it's asking us to identify what two equations have the same solution set. So let's go ahead and just solve each equation, and then we'll talk about strategies of checking for the correct answer at the end. So if we take the equation A, which is 8 minus 4 times x plus 1 equals 12, you can look at this equation right now, and clearly you can see that this is a multi-step equation, right? And with multi-step equations, that just means that there's multiple steps that we're going to have to do to isolate or solve for x. So the first step here is not to subtract these two numbers, because subtraction does not come before multiplication in order of operations. So the first thing we're going to do is going to multiply to simplify the equation, and then once we simplify it down, then we'll begin to solve it. So we're going to multiply the negative 4 to x and to 1s, and we get 8. Negative 4 times x is minus 4x. Negative 4 times 1 is minus 4, or negative 4, equals 12. So again, before we start solving for x, we can simplify by combining our like terms. We have an 8 and a negative 4. Those combine to a 4. So we've got 4 minus 4x equals 12. Now when we look at this equation, there is nothing to simplify, so we can go ahead and start using inverse operations to solve. And the easiest thing to eliminate is the number out in front, because it's being added. It's a positive number. So let's go ahead and subtract 4. Subtract 4. Now we're left with negative 4x equals 12 minus 4 is 8. And then we can go ahead and divide by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. And we have x equals negative 2. So for the first equation, our answer is negative 2. This was A. Let's go ahead and do B right here. B is 7x plus 5 equals 19. And just by looking at this, I can tell that this is a two-step equation. So there's going to be two steps that we need to do to get x by itself. Just like after we simplified this multi-step, we got a two-step right here. The first step we subtracted, and then the second step we divided, right? And here it's going to be very similar. So we need to eliminate the 7 and 5. Since the 7 is being multiplied, it's easier to eliminate the addition first by subtracting. That's the inverse. So we're going to minus 5 to both sides, and we get 7x. 19 minus 5 is 14. And now we can go ahead and eliminate the multiplication by dividing both sides by a 7. So we have x equals 14 divided by 2. 14 divided by 7 is 2. So our answer for B is 2. Very similar to our answer from A, but we got a negative 2 here. We've got a 2 here. So let's go ahead and now do C, and we'll move on and we'll do C right here. And we have 7x minus 3 equals a negative 3x minus 23. So here you can see that the type of equation that this is a variables on both sides. And what that means is that we've got an x variable on the left side, we've got an x variable on the right side. In order to solve for x, we've got to eliminate the x variable on one side. So let's go ahead and choose the side that we want to eliminate it on. Let's eliminate it on this side. So I'm going to keep x here, and I'm going to eliminate it here. So here's my x side, here's my number side. Eliminate the x variable by using inverse operations. So we're going to add 3x, negative 3x plus 3x is 0x, and 0 times x is 0. So we're just left with negative 23 here. And now here we can combine our x terms. 7x plus 3x is 10x. And we bring down this minus 3. So now we have what we just solved, a two-step. We have two-step here. So the first step in our two-step is going to be add 3. And we have 10x equals negative 23 plus 3 is a negative 20. So now let's go ahead and divide by 10. divide by 10, and we get x equals negative 20 divided by 10. Well, negative divided by positive is a negative, and 20 divided by 10 is negative 2. So we've got x equals negative 2, and you can already see that A and C have the same solution. So those are probably going to be our answers, but let's go ahead and just make sure by solving for D. So we have 2 times 3x minus 3 equals negative 8 plus 4x. And now this is a multi-step. Multi-step with variables on both sides. So it's a combination of C and A. So the first thing we're going to do is simplify with our multi-step. So 6x minus 6 equals negative 8 plus 4x. And now what we have is the same thing we had in C, which is a variables on both sides. So we're going to eliminate the variable on one side. I'm going to eliminate it on this side. So this is my x side, this is my number side. Minus 4x is the inverse. Minus 4x. We can combine our like terms here to 2x minus 6 equals negative 8. And now we can go ahead and solve this two-step equation that we have. The first step here is to add 6, add 6. Those are 0, so we have 2x, and I'll write it right over here. 2x equals negative 8 plus 6 is a negative 2. Divide by 2, and we get x equals negative 1. So you can see after a couple steps that every single equation became a two-step, 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 and two-step, right? So multi-step, we simplified, distributed, combined like terms, right? And I can even write these for you. Distributed, combined like terms, and then we solved, right? With the two-step, we just started solving. And with the variables on both sides, the first thing was to eliminate variable, and then we started to solve for the variable, right? And then with our multi-step and variables on the both sides, we simplified, then we eliminated the variable, and then we solved, right? And so how can we check our answer just to make sure that we found the right ones? Well, the easiest way is to take the value you found for the variable using a calculator and plug it back in for where the variable is. So I'm just going to write it right here on top of the variable. So we have negative 2. And now if we simplify this left side, the value that it should simplify to should be 12. So let's go ahead and do that. We have order of operations, so negative 2 plus 1 is a negative 1. Then we have a negative 1 times a negative 4, which is a 4. Positive 4, right? And then we have that positive 4 plus 8 is 12. So we got the same number on both sides, so that means that we solved this one correctly. And then let's go over here to this one, and let's plug it back in for where the variable was. So we have negative 2 here, and we've got a negative 2 here. I'll go up here. We've got a negative 2 here, and we've got a negative 2 here. Since x was being multiplied to the 7, we've got 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. Minus 3 equals negative 2 times negative 3 is a 9 minus 23. So these, when we simplify this and simplify this, they should come out to the same number. So negative 14 minus 3 is a negative 17. And a 9 minus 23 is also a negative 17. So we found the same. We got the same number on both sides of the equation too, so that means that we solved this one correctly as well. So we can go ahead and write which two equations have the same solution set? Well, A and C.